And joining me now to discuss this precarious moment in the region is Porat. He's a writer on the Middle East, on policy and on conflict. He's a researcher as well at the Australian Centre for Jewish Civilization, that's in Melbourne. Welcome to you, sir. Thanks very much for speaking to us today. The Israeli War Cabinet, we understand, is meeting as we talk. Is it your working assumption that they will decide to respond to the Iranian strikes? And the question now is when and how?
Yes, the decision has already been done, has been completed. And it's, again, a question of timing, scale, and how to keep it below the threshold of war. So because Israel has so many options on how to respond, and because it's expected of it to respond by the Israeli public, but more than that, by the regional partners in the Middle East. So they expect sort of conflicting expectations of Israel to not retaliate now, but to at the same time retaliate sometime or respond sometime in the future, to make clear to Iran, to send a very strong message to Iran, that such a scale of attack or any of these types of attacks will not be tolerated against Israel or against any of Israel's partners or allies in the region. So a response will happen. The question is how and at what scale and scope.
Can you give us a sense as to what those possible options might be? Could you make it a little more concrete for us?
So nobody knows exactly the details, and even the army has various different conflicting plans on how to do it. But it starts from the sort of very impressive cyber capabilities of Israel to disrupt life and economy inside Iran, towards missile attack or drone attack similar to what Iran has tried to complete and failed miserably, and to actions on or operations on Iranian soil, as Israel has again was successful in doing in the past, taking down or killing scientists or attacking nuclear sites and military sites. So the options are very much diverse. The question is how much will cooperation is needed with or at least coordination with the US. Israel cannot do it alone and leave US in the dark. So it has to be coordinated. It has to be diplomatically the right moment, which is I don't think is now. There's going to be some weeks of waiting.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, actually, about the extent of Israel's support now from allies, because we saw over the weekend the kinds of support allies like France, of course, the United States, the UK as well, are willing to give Israel to repel Iranian attacks. The question now, I suppose, is does Israel still have that support if it decides to really escalate this and attack Iran directly?
So again, there will be an attack against Iran directly. It's going to be, as I said, under the threshold of war. The support of the allies is something that has absolutely been taken into account, specifically the US, that has proven that it is vital for Israel's security, not only in this repelling of this Iranian failed attack, but also all through the war in Gaza from October 7th onward. The dependency or the need for strong US support tactically, militarily, diplomatically has been proven to be vital. So I don't think Israel would like to endanger that. And what happened overnight is also the flipping of the narrative. Israel was at the center of a lot of criticism of what was happening in Gaza. And now it's again being depicted and understood to be the victim of the Iranian and the sideline, their proxies, Hamas and others, aggression. So that is another proof of the colossal fail from the Iranian side. And Israel does want to leverage that flip of narrative to its benefit, to increase the pressure on Iran, to target more significantly, successfully, the nuclear weapons program that Iran is developing, and to undermine its terror proxies across the region.
Do you really think Israel could target Iran's nuclear program. Surely that isn't something that allied nations like the United States would wholeheartedly support.
Again, at this stage, what Israel is hoping for is to leverage the failed attack and the sympathy. We need sympathy towards Israel to diplomatic and other steps against Iran's nuclear capabilities and other dangerous capabilities. But Israel has already proven that it can act against Iranian assets which are related to the nuclear program. For instance, taking down Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, was the head of the weapons program. So it's not a question of, as I said, of if. It has the capabilities and has done it in the past.
Can I just ask you a final quick question, and that's about Hezbollah, the militant group in Lebanon. We've been seeing some reports today, and this is coming into us just as I'm talking to you now from the news wires, that 4 Israeli soldiers have been wounded in an explosion hundreds of meters inside Lebanese territory. I appreciate this is a breaking news story, but what do you make of that kind of reporting, and what do you think of the tensions that are going on that frontier right now as well?
So this is a completely different opera than what was happening in Gaza. So the IDF is working inside Lebanon in various ways to mostly deter or shoot down any potential threats as rocket firing or terror squads. So that could be part of that, these kind of operations. But the threat from Hezbollah is significant. They have about 150,000 missiles of different types that can hurt Israel in many places. And many of the Israelis that live in the north, including my relatives, my sister, had to leave their homes and are under threat from that terror organization that is funded by Iran. It's a proxy, Iranian proxy. And that is a big question, because dealing with that threat is important. And possibly, maybe, the failure of over the weekend of the Iranian attack could leverage France in its efforts to push Hezbollah and its Radwan force away from the border, which is in compliance of UN Security Council Resolution 1701 after the 2006 war in Lebanon.
Ran Porat, lots more I'd like to ask you, but unfortunately we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. And as I said, as I was speaking there to our guest, we're hearing now from an Israeli military official that 4 Israeli soldiers have been wounded in an explosion inside Lebanese territory. More on that when we have